$100,000 is the exact amount of capital required to either buy a better cage or to dismantle the bars of your economic prison forever. Most of you will choose the cage because your brain is a relic of the prehistoric past, unsuited for the cold, mathematical reality of the modern world. If you watch this to the very end, you will understand how the most successful hedge fund manager in history viewed this sum, not as a pile of cash, but as a biological organism capable of infinite growth. Failure to grasp this framework means you are destined to trade your heartbeat for a paycheck until the day your heart stops beating entirely. This is not about wealth. It is about the structural engineering of freedom in the year 2025. The majority of the population views $100,000 as a finish line, a destination reached after years of sweat and sacrifice. This perspective is a catastrophic error of judgment that ensures you will never truly be free. Jim Simons, the mathematician who founded Renaissance Technologies, viewed this sum as a miraculous launchpad, a critical mass of energy waiting to be ignited. In his world, money was not a possession to be flaunted, but a variable in a complex equation designed to solve the problem of human labor. He achieved an average annual return of 66%, not by chasing trends, but by treating the market as a cold, indifferent laboratory. To succeed in the American economy, you must first accept that your natural instincts are your greatest enemy. When you look at your bank account and see $100,000, you feel a sense of security that is entirely illusory. While you sleep, the invisible hand of inflation is aggressively eating away at the real value of every single cent you own. If inflation runs at a mere 3% per year, your idle capital is losing its purchasing power at a rate that will hollow out your future within a decade. Within 10 years, that $100,000 will have the utility of $74,000. Even if you never spend a dime, Simons understood that money is subject to the physical laws of entropy, meaning that unmanaged systems naturally move toward disorder and decay. If you are not actively deploying your capital into a system of growth, you are moving backward toward poverty with every passing second. This is the reality of the Western financial landscape, where standing still is equivalent to a slow-motion collapse. You must stop asking if an investment is safe and start asking how much energy that capital is generating for your future self. The shift from a consumer mindset to an architectural mindset is the boundary between the working class and the truly free. Every dollar you possess should be viewed as a soldier in an army, capable of capturing more territory without your physical presence. When you have $100,000, you have a battalion large enough to begin a serious campaign against the necessity of work. If you treat these dollars as static objects, you are essentially burying your soldiers alive. However, if you deploy them into a system that compounds, you are initiating a chain reaction that will eventually take on a life of its own. This is not a matter of luck, but a matter of understanding the mathematical architecture of wealth. The most powerful force in the financial universe is compound interest. Yet it is the one tool that almost no American uses with any degree of precision. Most people acknowledge its power intellectually, but they lack the emotional discipline to let it function. Compound interest is a jealous god that demands absolute consistency and refuses to reward those who are in a hurry. It does not care about your immediate needs, your desire for a luxury vehicle, or your urge to impress your neighbors in a wealthy suburb. It only rewards those who have the cold patience to leave the system undisturbed. Consider the trajectory of two different investors in the United States, both starting with $100,000 in the year 2025. The first person is driven by urgency, constantly trading in and out of the market to catch the latest technological hype or speculative bubble. They might achieve a 14% return in a good year, but their constant activity generates taxes and fees that erode their progress. Because they react to every news headline, they inevitably make mistakes during periods of high volatility. After 30 years of exhausting effort, their capital has grown, but it has not transformed their life. The second person adopts the mindset of a quantitative engineer, building a low-cost, diversified system designed for a steady 10% return. They do not check the market daily. They do not listen to, and they never interrupt the growth cycle, because they maintain absolute consistency. Their $100,000 grows into nearly $1,700,000 over 3 decades. The discrepancy between these two people is not caused by intelligence or access to information. It is caused by the ability to remain emotionally detached from the fluctuations of the market. Simons knew that the greatest threat to compounding is not a market downturn, but the human tendency to reset the wealth countdown clock. Every time you withdraw money for a non-essential purchase or panic during a recession, you are manually sabotaging your future. In the mathematics of growth, the vast majority of vertical progress happens in the final stages of the timeline. If you interrupt the process in year 5 or year 10, you will never see the explosive growth that occurs in year 25. $100,000 left to compound at 12% will reach nearly $3 million, a sum that can support a family indefinitely. Risk is a concept that is fundamentally misunderstood by the average person, who views it as a source of anxiety rather than a tool. To the uneducated mind, risk is the probability of losing money, leading to a flight response that paralyzes effective decision-making. Simons rejected this emotional framing entirely, viewing risk as a measurable variable that could be calculated and controlled. In his framework, there is no such thing as a risk-free path, because avoiding the market entirely carries the absolute risk of losing to inflation. The goal is never to eliminate risk, but to ensure that the potential reward justifies the exposure. Imagine crossing a busy intersection in a major city like New York or Los Angeles. You do not stay on the sidewalk forever because of the risk of being hit by a car. Instead, you use the available data to cross at the right time. You check the lights. You observe the flow of traffic. And you move with purpose when the probability of safety is at its highest. Financial risk management is identical to this process, requiring a calm assessment of conditions rather than a blind leap of faith. For the person with $100,000, risk must be calibrated so that they are never forced to exit the game at the worst possible moment. The position of wisdom in the American market lies in the middle, between the two extremes of reckless gambling and paralyzed hoarding. You must design a portfolio where the risk profile is a conscious choice, aligned with your long-term objectives. This requires you to know exactly how much volatility you can withstand without losing your composure. If your system is built on a solid foundation of data, a temporary market crash is not a tragedy, but a calculated fluctuation. True financial security is found in the integrity of your system, not in the temporary stability of a savings account. Human psychology is the primary reason why even the most intelligent people fail to build lasting wealth. We are biologically wired to feel the pain of a loss twice as intensely as the joy of a gain, a phenomenon known as loss aversion. In the prehistoric past, this helped us survive by prioritizing the avoidance of danger over the pursuit of extra resources. In the year 2025, this same instinct causes us to sell our winning investments too early and hold on to our losing ones too long. This asymmetry is a systemic error in the human brain that must be neutralized through hard rules. The second psychological bias is recency bias, the tendency to believe that the immediate past is a guaranteed blueprint for the future. If the stock market has been rising for several years, the people become euphoric and take on too much risk at the exact moment the market is most expensive. Conversely, when a recession hits, they become convinced that the world is ending and sell their assets at a significant loss. Simons understood that human beings cannot be trusted to make rational decisions under extreme pressure. His solution was to remove the human element entirely and rely on algorithms that do not feel fear or greed. To manage $100,000 successfully, you must create your own set of internal algorithms. A financial constitution that governs your behavior. Write down your rules when you are in a calm, analytical state of mind, and commit to following them regardless of what you hear on the news. If you allow your emotions to dictate your financial decisions, you are essentially handing your future over to a primitive part of your brain. Intelligence without discipline is a liability in the world of finance, often leading to complex mistakes that are far more expensive than simple ones. Passive income architecture is the ultimate objective of any serious capital deployment strategy. While the average person focuses on how much their assets will grow in price, to the wise person focuses on the cash flow those assets generate. Financial freedom occurs at the precise moment when your assets produce an annual income that exceeds your annual cost of living. At this point, you are no longer a participant in the labor economy. You are the owner of a private utility that funds your existence. This is the structural result of intentional design, not a byproduct of luck or a high salary. A $100,000 portfolio with a 10% annual return generates $10,000 per year. In the United States, this is not enough to replace a full-time salary, but it is a powerful, foundational brick. If you reinvest that $10,000, you are increasing the size of your machine, allowing it to produce even more income in the following year. The strategy is to feed the machine until the income stream becomes thick enough to carry the weight of your entire lifestyle. Those who fail to reach this stage are usually not lacking in capital, but they are lacking in a professional operating system. Most people optimize for the wrong variable, focusing on their monthly income rather than their total asset accumulation. A person in a city like Chicago who earns $200,000 but spends most of it on a high-status lifestyle is in a fragile position. They are one job loss away from a total collapse of their personal economy. In contrast, a person who earns $70,000 but converts $20,000 into assets every year is building a sustainable future. The first person has a high income, but the second person is an engineer of freedom who will eventually stop working. Short-term thinking is a snare that traps the majority of the American middle class. The temptation to purchase a luxury item today is always more intense than the distant benefit of financial independence decades from now. Our brains are hardwired for immediate gratification, which is why your financial discipline must be structural rather than based on willpower. You must build automated systems that transfer money into your investment accounts before you have the chance to spend it. If you rely on inspiration to save and invest, you will find that inspiration is a very unreliable partner. The legacy of Jim Simons teaches us that the market is not a random collection of numbers, but a system with hidden structures. Those who find these structures and operate within them with patience and rationality are the ones who will stand in a different financial position from the crowd. $100,000 is not a sum to be spent. It is a sum to be managed with the seriousness of a scientist in a laboratory. It represents the potential for thousands of hours of your life to be returned to you in the form of free time and autonomy. As we move through the year 2025, the tools for managing capital have become more sophisticated and accessible than ever before. However, the human tendency toward irrationality remains the same as it was a century ago. To escape the trap of perpetual labor, you must be willing to think differently from the people around you. You must accept that your neighbor's opinions on the market are likely based on emotion and misinformation. Your commitment must be to the cold, hard numbers, and the long-term integrity of your compounding machine. Before this day ends, you must take a moment to evaluate whether you are an owner of capital or a servant of it. If your money is sitting in a traditional account, losing value every day, you are a servant to the forces of inflation and decay. If you are chasing the latest trends in a desperate attempt to get rich quickly, you are a servant to your own impulsiveness. True ownership requires a commitment to a system that functions without your constant intervention. It requires the courage to be boring and the discipline to be consistent when the world is chaotic. Financial independence is not an elite privilege reserved for those with extraordinary luck. It is a structural outcome of intentional design. Jim Simons did not build the greatest track record in history by being a better gambler than everyone else. He built it by being more systematic, more honest about human bias, and more patient than the rest of the world. He understood that the market does not reward enthusiasm or excitement. It only rewards those who can maintain a clear perspective. Your $100,000 is the seed of your future empire, provided you have the wisdom to plant it and the discipline to let it grow. Take 30 seconds to reflect on the specific changes you will make to your financial life starting today. Do not allow this knowledge to remain an abstract concept that fades from your mind by tomorrow morning. Financial destiny is not decided by a single grand gesture, but by the accumulation of 1,000 small, rational decisions. The bridge between your current life and a life of total freedom is built one day at a time. Through the application of mathematical laws, you have the capital, you have the framework, and now you must provide the execution. The year 2025 is a year of awakening for those who are tired of trading their time for a paycheck. It is the year to stop looking at $100,000 as a bank balance and start looking at it as an operating system. Well-designed systems produce predictable results. And the most predictable result of disciplined compounding is freedom. Do not let the distractions of the modern world pull you away from the work of building your own financial infrastructure. Risk is a variable to be managed. Time is an asset to be captured. And your future is a project to be engineered. Every decision you make with your capital is either a step toward independence or a step back toward the cage. Choose to be the architect of your own life, rather than a passenger in someone else's economic machine. The market will always be volatile. The news will always be alarming. And your instincts will always try to lead you astray. However, if you hold fast to the principles of systematic growth, you will eventually reach a point where work is a choice, not a necessity. This is the ultimate prize. And it is within your reach if you have the discipline to claim it. $100,000 is your first million, provided you do not interrupt the process. It is the critical mass that allows the laws of physics to begin working in your favor rather than against you. As you move forward, remember that wealth is not about what you buy, but about what you no longer have to do. The ability to control your own time is the only true luxury that money can provide. Invest with the precision of a mathematician. Live with the discipline of a scientist. And wait with the patience of a sage. Your empire of freedom begins with the management of the sum you have right now. Do not wait for a larger amount or a better time to start, because the most important variable in the equation of wealth is time. The sooner you activate your system, the sooner the power of compounding can begin its work. In the year 2025, the path to independence is clear for those who are brave enough to follow the logic of the numbers. Welcome to the beginning of your new financial reality, where your capital works for you, and your time belongs to you alone. True freedom is found in the quiet confidence of a system that is operating exactly as it was designed. It is not found in the noise of the trading floor or the excitement of a sudden gain. It is found in the steady, relentless growth of a well-managed portfolio over decades. Jim Simons proved that the world is governed by patterns. And the most important pattern in finance is that discipline always defeats impulse. Apply this lesson to your life. Protect your capital from your own emotions, and let the mathematical laws of the universe do the rest. The journey from $100,000 to permanent financial independence is a path of psychological transformation. You must shed the habits of the consumer and adopt the mindset of the owner. You must learn to find comfort in data and skepticism in popular opinion. If you can achieve this shift in perspective, the rest is simply a matter of time and arithmetic. The necessity of working for a living can be eliminated, but only if you are willing to treat your capital with the respect it deserves. Start today. Stay the course. And watch as your architecture of freedom becomes a reality.